I woke up last night about 3:30 with my skull radiating. There was this low-level hum. It was this sort of warm kind of sound. And it was most disturbing. It wasn't coming from inside the house because I turn the electricity off at night. I turn the Wi-Fi off. I turn all the electrics off. And then I turn them back on in the morning before the freezer is completely defrosted, where I have my raw milk stored in and all the other bits and bobs that you have. It stays perfectly fine. But yeah, so it wasn't the electricity, and I was just aware of this very disturbing, low, subatomic, well, I don't know if it was subatomic, but it was that sort of very subwoofery sound. Hard to pinpoint where it was coming from. And in the end, it was just, I could not sleep. And I found my nose was running. I was expecting to have nosebleeds. It was so sort of throbbing and radiating around my skull. And I thought, oh, now I have heard in the long distance past when I was, in the 70s, my dad used to tell me that there was this thing called woodpecker that was supposedly coming from Russia. Now, I think that was a bit of something he'd seen on the television, which was probably, even back then, the mainstream narrative they were trying to tell us. But my dad was into radio waves and radio frequencies. He had a business in which he designed aerials and those sort of things for all sorts of military purposes and the police and various things, and direction-finding equipment and things like that. So I understood a little bit about radio technology, because he would impart that to me. And he was saying that there was this woodpecker thing, but the woodpecker thing was this dum, 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 dum in the 70s. Now, I don't know if anybody's heard about that, knows anything about that, but that apparently was there to sort of keep us down and get our vibrations low. I don't know, but I've heard other people say about the hum, that I think somebody told me about the hum in Glastonbury. And other places have got the hum of wherever it is, the hum of Humberside, maybe. But I definitely last night, I woke up, I got up, I went downstairs, I opened the back door, I stood in the backyard and I listened. I couldn't hear it outside because of the birds were just beginning to wake up. I went out to the front and I where's it coming from? But it was this almost penetrating, coming out of the earth in a way, this sort of very deep So what was it? If you've experienced it, you know what it was. My first thought was these 5G towers that are popping up all over the bloody place are all now starting to radiate on us to keep our vibrations down, to make our bodies detox and try and get rid of all of the sort of nasty swamp of radio signals that are being bashed into our brains. So maybe that is what it is. I don't know, and I would love to know and hear from anybody who can tell me. Do bung it in the comments. So that was rather worrying. I want to tell you a couple of other things whilst I'm here. I want to remind you, I'm not being paid to say this, but Steve from the Good Food Project is coming on the show to tell us about his business and tell us about the food. Now, we may go into a period where there's going to be food shortages. People are beginning to sort of twig that we've had a lot of rain. Harvests may not deliver the amount of food that we want. The wars in different parts of the world may be affecting the possibility of getting food. At least good food. We may all end up having to eat that highly processed, toxin-filled rubbish that they sell in supermarkets, and we certainly don't want to be doing that. But when those shelves are empty, what are you going to do? So it might be worth stocking up. I'm just saying it might be. And one of the great places to go to is, of course, the Good Food Project. As I say, I'm not being paid to say this. But you can, and you might want to go there anyway, to get your fresh organic meat. And here we go. Look at all some of this lovely looking meat, isn't it? And of course, if you're eating meat, excuse me, if you're eating meat, so I'm detoxing again, you're eating good quality stuff, and it's very good for the body. I realise that there may be some vegans out there or some vegetarians, and they may not wish to see all of that. So of course you can get vegetables and things, get your veg boxes and bits and bobs. Anyway, I'll put the link in the description, the Good Food Project. I just wanted to alert you to that. Go and check it out. They deliver it to you all packaged up nicely. I also get my raw milk, and there are a number of places to do that. I'm hoping very soon to go back to Dora's Dairy, who do raw milk, and I believe they deliver it to you. And Dora's Dairy, I'm hoping to see John Cook and have a look at his herd. So going to be exploring that. Going to be exploring a lot of things, going up to Norfolk, or at least East Anglia. It's either Norfolk or Suffolk, one of those, and talking to a whole load of farmers up there. Going to be talking to another chap who's got beef cattle, and they want to explore about that. So there's a lot of understanding of food and where food comes from coming up on this show, because I think that's the number one thing. Now, I know that a number of people go, oh, but, because if I talk about food on this show, it's amazing how people are not interested. You wait till you're starving. You wait till you can't get stuff from the supermarkets, or the stuff that you eat in the supermarkets is poisoning you and full of a rather nasty substance that they have placed into it that is part of that thing that knocks you out. You might be a bit more interested. So I think we've got to start becoming much more aware of the food that we eat and what it does to us as medicine, and not just assume that it will always be there. And it's interesting, as I put in videos about that, the interest wanes. Everybody wants to hear about the danger. Oh no, tell me about the danger. I want to be frightened all the time. That's not good for our vibrations. So I want to tell you also about a rather interesting interview that I was sent yesterday. I think it's only been out a few days. You may have already seen it, with Dr. David Martin. He's the guy who told us about the certain thing that turns out was a bioweapon that has snake venom and all sorts of other bits and bobs in it. He was asked about the situation and what the future looks like. And he said the current situation in his mind is that the monster is dead, but its head is still, there are fractions of it all over the place, still trying to play from the playbook, which is why we're seeing some terrible atrocities going on in the world. But it does seem to be completely uncoordinated. And I think that's marvellous news, but it may take a little bit of time to play out. So I think the monster is dead. So the future that they've planned for us, I don't think is going to happen, but we've got a bit of a rough ride to get through. I'll put the link in the description, because one of the other things that he said is he was asked, what do you see the future to look like? And it's interesting because Dr. David Martin has a very positive outlook on the future and shares some of the ideas that I've got, the ideas that we will start to utilize some of those technologies of the past. Yes, we may marry them up with the modern technology that we've got. But one of the questions was, why do we have to plug everything into the wall? Why is all technology geared towards electricity? There are some, and electricity, of course, has its own problems with dirty electricity and certain radiation, and can make us ill. There are plenty of other technologies like wind, such as old-fashioned windmills and stone-ground flour, that has been very useful to us and is not radiating us to death, and gives you good quality flour that has the nutrients left in rather than the roller ones. There's water power, steam power. There must be a way of building things like old traction engines in which you can capture the dark smoke and use technology that way. And there's all sorts, and using gravity. Why do we always have to use things just using the technology for speed and efficiency when we're not really having time to enjoy life and slowing ourselves down a bit? It was a fascinating interview. I'll put the link in the description as well, and you can check that out. But I think that we will be using an amalgamation in the future of not all this high-tech be behind screens, but getting back into the land, getting back in a world in which is an analog world. People don't realise just how marvellous an analog world was. Now, talking of analog worlds, here is an old-fashioned hanky. And this throbbing in my head that was going on, I can see that I am detoxing from whatever it was overnight. I'd love to hear, what was that humming noise? Can you tell me? Before I go, one more little thing. And that is tomorrow as I record this and put this out, but it may be today when you see it, or it may have been in the past. Friday, the 8th of March at between 6 and 8 o'clock. If you have some inquiries about lawful things that you would like to ask about, might be to do with the council tax, it might be to do with parking tickets, speeding fines, it might be remedies that you're looking for, that you have problems with the police or the organisation. While this is not legal advice, you know, you may need to seek legal advice for acts and statutes and stuff. But if you want some interesting and entertaining ideas from people who've studied law, as in lawful things, then the Lawful Remedy with the Clever Clogs is live on this channel from tomorrow, Friday the 8th of March, at 6 o'clock UK time. You might want to come in and pose your question. Karen Dodd from the Freedom Network will be here to take your questions, and I will be hosting it with a panel of so-called experts in their field, and we will see what we do. Hopefully it will be just a fun and entertaining live show on the show. And we may have some technical issues. Of course, you know what like these things are when you do them first of all. But we'll try and do that. And if you've got some ideas and you want some remedies, or maybe you've got the remedies and you want to put those forward, then of course we'll be delighted to hear those. But thank you for watching today. Take care and look after yourself.